Emily, is Grandpa behaving himself? Patricia, kind of. He hurt his leg. Honestly, old people can be such a burden sometimes. I wish they'd consider how hard it is for the rest of us to look after them. Emily, Patricia, that's not a kind way to put it. Patricia, it's the truth. He's not doing well anymore. I don't have the patience for the elderly, but you're used to this kind of thing. You'll manage. A few days ago, my husband's grandfather, Michael, took a fall in the garden and injured his leg. Thankfully, it wasn't serious, but since he's already 82, we've had him resting in bed to avoid any complications. My mother-in-law refuses to go near him, much less help with his care. I'm Emily, 30 years old. I married Daniel 3 years ago, and we now live with his family. Daniel used to be my boss at the company founded by his grandfather. When I joined 8 years ago, my father-in-law was the president, but it was Michael who still held the reins as chairman, managing all major responsibilities. 2 years ago, when Grandpa turned 80, he stepped back from public duties, leaving most matters to my father-in-law while retaining his title as chairman. Mother-in-law, Michael, you've done enough. Let Christopher handle the company now. It's time for you to relax. She said it with a smile, but it sounded more like a dismissal than appreciation. Grandpa can be a bit stubborn, but he's always been kind and fair. He built a strong reputation for himself. My father-in-law, on the other hand, comes across as indecisive and seems to rely entirely on my mother-in-law for everything. I never had the chance to meet my grandmother-in-law. She passed away before I married into the family. Daniel and I started dating when we worked together on the product planning team, 3 years into my time at the company. He was passionate and seemed dependable, although a bit overconfident. Maybe that appealed to me because I lost my father early and was raised solely by my mother, who passed away 2 years ago. I have no family left aside from my in-laws. Shortly after our wedding, my mother fell seriously ill. I left my job to take care of her. My husband's family didn't object, probably because of what Grandpa said. Grandpa, it's only right to care for the mother who raised you alone. Don't worry about anything else, just be with her. Thanks to that support, I could be with my mother every day until the end. My mother-in-law didn't seem thrilled, but I was truly grateful. But ever since Grandpa passed the leadership to my father-in-law, everyone's attitude toward him has changed. His voice carries less weight, and he's treated more like a burden than a respected elder. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but now I see it clearly, especially from how my mother-in-law and Patricia act. My father-in-law just avoids confrontation altogether. It frustrates me deeply. Emily, don't you think you're being a little cold to Grandpa, both of you? Patricia, oh please, he talks to you all the time, doesn't he? You're the one helping him anyway. Patricia, I don't have time to deal with old people. You're the one with free time, go ahead. Emily, there's no need to be so rude. Patricia, I'm exhausted from work. Don't make it worse with pointless chatter. No matter what I say, they brush me off. Grandpa never complains about how he's treated. I'm the only one who talks with him regularly at home. Emily, Grandpa, it's a beautiful day today. Want to go for a short walk? Your leg looks better, it might help your recovery. Grandpa, thank you. A little walk sounds nice. We went to a nearby park where children were playing. Grandpa watched them with a smile that carried a touch of sadness. Grandpa, Christopher and Daniel used to play like that too. I was always too busy with work to spend much time with them. Maybe that's why things turned out the way they did. He said it quietly, almost to himself. Christopher is my father-in-law. Daniel, my husband. I often wonder if there's some way I can make the others treat Grandpa more kindly, but nothing seems to come to mind. Then, one day, my in-laws brought up the idea of building a new house. Mother-in-law, this house is over 50 years old. The layout's inconvenient and outdated. Rather than renovate, wouldn't it be better to build something new in a better location? Father-in-law, a new place would be safer too. Michael's getting older, and even though this last injury wasn't serious, who knows what could happen next? A barrier-free home would make caregiving easier. Patricia, we could place Grandpa's room in the center of the house so he's easier to check on. Mother-in-law, that's a great idea. So, Michael, about the cost? Grandpa, if it's for all of us, I'll pay. Talk to Mr. Jones about the funds. Mother-in-law, that's just like you. Michael, thanks, we really appreciate it. Her smile seemed too pleased. They only seem affectionate when money is involved. Still, I hoped a new home might encourage them to care for Grandpa better. Mr. Jones, The company's legal advisor, also manages Grandpa's personal finances. Grandpa trusts him deeply. He hired him almost 30 years ago. At 58, Mr. Jones is calm, honest, and genuinely concerned for Grandpa's well-being, sometimes more like a true son than the real ones. His presence reassures me. Though I wasn't kept in the loop about the house construction, my in-laws were cheerful, flipping through design magazines and making plans. Everything seemed to be moving smoothly until a sudden shock hit us. It turned out Grandpa had a debt of $1.82 million. Emily, what? Where did this come from? He had co-signed a loan for a friend's company that went under. Now the entire debt had fallen on him. Emily, wait, what about the house? It's still under construction. Mother-in-law, don't worry, the contract is already finalized, and, as Patricia pointed out, the property is under the president's name. She sounded almost relieved. Mother-in-law, oh, thank goodness. I'm glad we went with my plan. Listening to that conversation, I learned for the first time that the house was actually in my father-in-law's name, even though my grandfather-in-law had paid for it all. That felt like something only my mother-in-law would do. I also wondered why no one thought about giving up the house to help cover the massive debt. Me, hey, this debt is Michael's problem, right? It's got nothing to do with us or the company? Mother-in-law, well, the loan was signed under Michael's name. Father-in-law, so it's fine, there's no issue. I couldn't see what was fine about it, but Grandpa didn't say anything, so I didn't press it. It wasn't an amount I could handle anyway. A few days later, Grandpa's behavior started changing. Me, Grandpa, what do you want for lunch? Grandpa, who are you calling Grandpa? I'm only 50, you have no right to call me that. Me, huh? Sorry, Emily, right? I must have been daydreaming. At first, I thought he was just distracted, but it happened over and over again, and I grew worried. Grandpa, Patricia, where's my meal? What are you doing? Me, Grandpa, I'm Emily. Patricia is your daughter-in-law. You ate already. Grandpa, I didn't eat. Are you trying to starve me? I wondered if the shock of that $1.82 million debt had triggered something, and seeing that none of his family cared probably made it worse. I tried convincing him to see a doctor, but he refused. Maybe he didn't want to admit he might have dementia. I didn't want to force him, but I felt helpless. I talked to Daniel, but he shrugged it off. Me, it might be dementia. Can you go with us to the hospital? Daniel, it's not that bad, right? If people find out, it'll be embarrassing. Me, there are treatments now that can slow it down. Daniel, no rush. Let's just watch him a bit longer. You're here, so he'll be fine. I was frustrated. I couldn't count on them. Me, Grandpa, please let's get you checked out. Grandpa, who are you? Where are you taking me? You're up to something. Tears welled up as I saw how stubborn and confused he'd become, but my mother-in-law just laughed. Mother-in-law, he may have been chairman once, but now everything's Christopher's. It's over for him. Patricia, he's not really aware anymore. He'll start wandering, drooling. Just thinking about it scares me. He's a nuisance. I protested. How can you say that? Grandpa worked his whole life for this family. Mother-in-law just laughed. Mother-in-law, see? This old man doesn't understand anything. Me, Patricia. I was furious, but soon the new house would be ready. Maybe things would change then. It was a house Grandpa had helped build. Maybe the family would show some gratitude. I held on to that hope. 2 months later, the house was finished. 4 days. I packed everyone else's things, my in-laws and husbands, but my father-in-law's and mine were barely touched. Whenever I tried to organize my stuff, they gave me more tasks, so progress was slow. I thought I could move the small things later. It's not like the house was going anywhere. On moving day, after shifting most belongings, I tried to call my father-in-law, but Daniel stopped me. Daniel, you and Grandpa can stay here. Me, what? Daniel, you can live in his old house. We don't need extra baggage in the new one. You and Grandpa are living here from now on. And the debt? That's yours too. At least you'll be a housekeeper. Daniel, come on, let's go. Good luck paying off the debt and taking care of him. My in-laws left, smiling and chatting, while I stood there stunned. Had we been abandoned? Not just me, but Grandpa too? Only they would live in the new house. It took me a while to believe it. It was beyond cruel. How could I explain this to Grandpa? I quietly went to the back room where he was sitting. I didn't mind caring for him. It was what I wanted to do from the start. As I hesitated to call his name, he turned around before I could speak. Grandpa, have they left already? His face looked different, like he wasn't quite the same man from just a few months ago. For a moment, I thought maybe a new symptom had appeared. Then he smiled, and what he said next caught me off guard. As we talked, Mr. Jones arrived. Mr. Jones, Chairman, have you finished letting go of the unnecessary staff? Grandpa, yes, all done. Shall we go? Me, go? Where? Grandpa, to the new house, of course. Without fully understanding, I left the house I'd been living in, following my grandfather-in-law. The next month, my mother-in-law and Daniel flooded me with calls. Grandpa said he wouldn't take their calls anymore, but I still answered Daniel's, because the divorce talks were looming. Daniel, Emily, is Grandpa with you? The old house is up for sale. It's not worth $1.82 million, so you can't pay off the debt. Is that why you did it? Me, what do you mean? Daniel, put Grandpa on the phone. Dad says no one can reach him. That forgetful old man's done something outrageous. I knew exactly what my husband was referring to, but I wanted to hear his side of the story. Grandpa sold the company's stocks to the executive director, he explained. Thanks to that, the executive director became the largest shareholder. They held both a shareholders' meeting and a board meeting, and as a result, Dad was dismissed as president. But the executive director is well liked, and maybe Grandpa thought it was better to hand the company over to him. I frowned. The executive director must have tricked Grandpa into selling the stocks. That's not true, my husband said firmly. You're misunderstanding something. Grandpa doesn't have dementia. If anything, he seems more coherent than before. What, until moving day? I asked, confused. I realized then that my grandfather-in-law had suspected everything from the moment my mother-in-law suggested building that new house for him to live in, so he had hatched a plan. He pretended to faint, just to watch how my in-laws and husband would react. As expected, they all revealed their true selves one by one, and in the end, they left Grandpa and me behind. I almost laughed out loud, because it all happened exactly as I had anticipated. Then Grandpa said something that surprised me, relieved me, and left me conflicted. To deceive the enemy, you must first deceive your allies. He chuckled quietly, clearly well informed. He'd been getting regular updates on the company from the executive director and Mr. Jones. With Grandpa out of the picture, my father-in-law and husband ran wild, acting self-righteous and ignoring the employees, often wasting company money on frivolities. Eventually, Grandpa handed the company over to my father-in-law, but he had serious doubts about the future. Ultimately, he decided he couldn't trust his son and left control to the executive director instead. I explained everything to my husband. What about the $1,820,000 debt? He asked. That's taken care of, I answered. Grandpa had guaranteed a loan for a friend's father, but his personal assets exceeded that amount. I kept that detail quiet, no need to give my mother-in-law and husband more targets. The friend was the son of a benefactor who had helped my father-in-law when he was young. Plus, the friend's land in the countryside was about to be developed into a resort, meaning he'd soon sell it for a fortune. My husband's jaw dropped. You're kidding. I looked at them seriously. More importantly, are you two okay? We're not okay. Both Dad and I were kicked out of the company. What are we supposed to do now? He said bitterly. And don't forget the mortgage on the house, I reminded him. What mortgage? He was shocked. Have you realized it yet? Grandpa paid for the house, but Christopher signed the mortgage without checking anything. I clarified. It proves he didn't have what it takes to be president. He sighed heavily. You're kidding. As a result, my parents-in-law lost the house they had built. They now live in a cramped, 50-year-old apartment, struggling to pay off the remaining loan. They've tried contacting me, even suggesting we all live together, but that's impossible now. My grandfather-in-law retired as chairman and bought an old house in the countryside. Emily, you're free to live wherever you want, don't worry about money, he told me kindly. But I chose to stay with him. If I'm not a burden, please let me stay by your side, I said, tears brimming. His eyes welled up too. Thanks to Mr. Jones, the divorce was finalized, and steps were taken to exclude my ex-father-in-law and ex-husband from the inheritance. I became Grandpa's adopted daughter. If anything happens to him, I will care for him until the end. Now, the two of us enjoy working in the fields together. Dad, look at this radish, it's huge, I exclaimed, feeling the warmth of the sun pouring down on us. I hope these days continue, just one day longer.